This is Optimal Health Daily, episode 473. 5 Weird Tricks to Jumpstart Muscle Growth by John Romaniello of RomanFitnessSystems.com. And I'm Dr. Neil Malik, your narrator of blogs covering health and fitness. I read to you from some of the most popular blogs out there, with authors' permission, of course. And then on Fridays, I answer your questions. Plus, if you send me an audio question, you're entered into bonus raffles to win books from us. You can record straight from your computer's microphone by going to oldpodcast.com, or you can call in your question. The number is 61 I love OHD. And since it's midweek, we're definitely due for an inspirational quote. Now, it's really short. If you blink, you might miss it. Ready? Here we go. Quote, "Attitude determines altitude." Unknown. I told you, it was quick. The one thing I will say before I get to today's post is that we're finding from research that this quote is actually truer than we thought. We're finding success may not just be based on how much you know or how long you've been at a company or whatever. It actually has a lot to do with your attitude. If you tend to be positive, if you tend to roll with punches, and if you make a mistake, own up to it, but promise to do better, those are the things that we're finding actually lead to success, more so than a lot of other things. All right, I'm sure you're eager to hear today's post, so let's jump right in and continue optimizing your life. 5 Weird Tricks to Jumpstart Muscle Growth by John Romaniello of RomanFitnessSystems.com. Physique transformation is a hell of a process, and it's really not a straight path. Sure, I talk about fat loss plateaus quite a bit, but as anyone who has ever tried to put on some muscle can tell you, progress can stall in either direction. A lot of the time, you hear about guys who simply can't get any bigger despite their best efforts. Full body plateaus, really. Most of the time, this is an issue with diet more than training. These guys are often not eating enough. Less talked about, but certainly more insidious, are single body part plateaus, where someone is experiencing pretty decent progress overall, but one muscle group seems to have stalled out like the '84 Oldsmobile Cutlass Sierra I drove in high school. Hey, don't laugh, that car had personality. It may not have had air conditioning or a working radio or a functional passenger side seatbelt, but it sure as hell had personality. These plateaus aren't generally dietary. They're usually a training issue. Not just lack of training, but lack of activation that leads to lack of development. So today, I want to share 5 quick tips to jumpstart growth in any muscle group. Before I begin though, I need to mention that these tips are not just about guys trying to add some size to their guns. I often use the same tactics to help women develop their calves for a sexier looking heels, or, in my opinion, far more interestingly, trying to add some mass to their glutes for a better fit in their absurdly tight jeans. So, ladies and gents, listen up. 5 tricks to jumpstart any muscle's growth. 1. Don't just lift. Lift fast. Unless you're doing a program that specifically calls for dedicated lifting at a slower speed, like lactic acid training, don't worry about tempo. As an industry, we're really getting away from tempo prescriptions as a whole. In fact, Jason Ferrugia, an excellent trainer and extreme badass, has said the prescription of slow tempos for muscle growth is one of the biggest mistakes and wastes of time in his career. For my part, I couldn't agree more. Instead, always try to lift explosively. Increasing bar speed will force you to amplify recruitment of fast-twitch muscle. This simple trick will affect your body in profound ways. The increased neurological efficiency has obvious implications for muscle growth. The term really refers to the degree to which your nervous system will allow your muscles to get involved in a lift. But from a fat loss perspective, it's also great because you'll use more weight, which is simply more calorically expensive and metabolically challenging. Ultimately, you'll have greater activation, recruitment, and development. As an added bonus, lifting fast will increase both neurogenic and myogenic muscle tone, which will help you look leaner, even at slightly higher levels of body fat. Try this with shoulder exercises and enjoy the new look of your delts just a few sessions later. Trick number 2. Perform unilateral exercises. Single limb movements, particularly with heavy weight, recruit high threshold motor units, or HTMUs. Recruitment of HTMUs has carryover to muscle building by escalating overall fiber recruitment and neurological efficiency, allowing you to stimulate muscles more easily and create growth more efficiently. Of course, training your entire body using unilateral exercises will double the workout time. So, I normally recommend starting your workout with big bilateral movements, then transitioning to a few sets of single limb exercises, and finishing back up with some more explosive bilateral stuff. As an example, going from a front squat to heavy single leg squats and then jump squats. Tip number 3, pre-stimulate. To increase growth of a target muscle, pre-stimulation with an isolation movement is one of the smartest things you can do. While I don't normally like too many isolation exercises, everything has its place. This is very different from something like pre-exhaustion, where the goal is to fatigue the targeted muscles in an attempt to shift the emphasis later. With pre-stimulation, the idea is to establish recruitment patterns early in the workout with an isolation exercise that will have carryover effect to the more productive compound movements you'll use later on. For example, perform a fast and light set of dumbbell flies before you hit the bench press, and your pecs will be activated and actually perform more work. Whereas, had you not done this, your triceps and shoulders may have done the brunt of the work. Tip number 4, the magic touch. Absolutely one of my favorite sneaky tricks to get a muscle going. During your set, lightly touch the muscle you are working. This will boost mind-muscle connection via a method called tactile stimulation, which allows you to send signals to both the brain and the body to increase the activation of that muscle. Early in my training career, I had less connection to my back than I did to any other muscle. No matter what I did, I'd pretty much just leave my back out of it. Anytime I did pull-ups, I was basically just using my arms. Then I used tactile stimulation. I switched all of my back exercises to unilateral movements, and with my non-working arm, I would reach across my body and touch the lat of the working side. By doing this, I was able to feel when I wasn't working and try to actively engage my muscles during the exercise. Over time, I was able to develop intense mind-muscle connections, and my back went from being one of my visually weakest body parts to the most impressively well-developed. I use this with my clients now, and we're able to see significant progress over a short period of time. This works incredibly well with back and calves. Most people also have an issue with glute activation. So resting a hand on your tuchus while you're doing lying hip raises can definitely help get your glutes to fire and begin to improve development and strength. Tip number 5, more work, less time. Another fun and challenging way to bring up a lagging body part is to try to complete your given workout in less time. Decreasing training time without cutting workout volume increases training density. The targeted muscle will experience more stimulation without recovering, forcing your body to compensate with an increase in work capacity, power output, muscular density or hardness, and size. On top of being great for jump-starting development in a given muscle, increasing training density is incredible as a fat loss technique. And performing density training for a single muscle while on a fat loss plan can certainly help you bring up that body part while losing a little fat. There you have it, short and sweet. 5 simple but instantly effective ways to jumpstart growth and development in any muscle group. Tips that you can put into action as early as tomorrow. You just listened to the post titled 5 Weird Tricks to Jumpstart Muscle Growth by John Romaniello of RomanFitnessSystems.com. I like all of the tips that John shared. Before I even knew about John's blog, I had incorporated some of these tips into my workout routines. And like he promised, I did end up seeing some really nice results. But the one thing I want to mention is when you lift fast, for example, you want to be really careful. I'm sure John would agree with me that some of these tips he wouldn't recommend for a beginner, but again, rather someone he's been training with for a little while, someone who has hit that plateau. But when you lift fast, for example, you want to still make sure that your form is just as good. You don't want to sacrifice form too much just to lift a weight fast. That's when you can get injured. That's how I injured my back the first time. I was trying to do box jumps really quickly, stood at the top of a box, lost my balance, and then landed awkwardly. And so if you decide to lift fast, definitely select a lighter weight and be careful when you do it. Now before I go, don't forget, you can be in a small raffle every month for a free book if you send me an audio question. To do that, come by oldpodcast.com or you can call it in. The number is 61 I love OHD. And you can always find this information in this episode's description. That's it for today. Thank you as always for listening. Thank you for sharing this show with someone. Thank you for being a subscriber. I'll be back tomorrow with a post from regular contributor Nerd Fitness. So I'll see you there where your optimal life awaits.
Hello, Life Optimizer. This is Justin Malik, creator and producer of this show and Optimal Living Daily, the brother podcast of this one. Literally, I'm Dr. Neil's brother. If you like the format of this show, you'll love Optimal Living Daily too, where I also read to you from blogs, but cover other topics like personal development, finance, and minimalism from bloggers like Derek Sivers, The Minimalists, Zen Habits, and many more. So for more amazing content read to you for free, come subscribe to Optimal Living Daily too, and together we'll optimize your life.
You've been listening to Optimal Health Daily. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on each new episode, and head to oldpodcast.com. That's oldpodcast.com for a free gift, as well as more actionable tips and resources to help you maximize your potential. Thanks for joining us, and remember, your optimal life awaits.